joining. If you guys are listening, thank you for listening. A lot to talk about today. A lot of happy things for Americans coming down this week. A lot of things going on in the Premier League. I had a game yesterday, lost. Not a great thing, but
Tell me about it.
I played goalkeeper, which was hilarious because my foot still hurts, so I tried not to do too much. But it was a fun day. We're gonna talk a lot today about Americans abroad and everything that's going on with Americans, the Premier League race, Arsenal City, of course. We'll dive into some of the mid-table and the conversation around Champions League places. But let's start off today. We're gonna go with some, a fun fact to start that I saw is unverified. I just saw it, and you can't take everything for granted or seriously like you see on the internet. But it appears that this year, or at least since the start of 2026 in the Premier League, there have been more managers fired than there have been free kicks. How crazy is that?
Mm.
That's actually kind of wild. I saw that, thought it was funny. I was like, hey, I might as well bring it up. Does that
Oh,
surprise you? Isn't that crazy?
the way the game is now, yes. No, it doesn't surprise me because there's no more loyalty anyways. They don't care about the manager. They don't care. They don't care for his vision if it takes a couple of years or whatnot. They just care for immediate success. I don't understand why Premier League teams think that they're going to overnight become the champion. Makes no sense, especially if you're a team that's probably just trying to survive. I get if you know, maybe if you're Tottenham, sure, because yeah.
Oh
Uh,
man.
but that's pretty much
Uh,
the only team that is you trying to prevent, you know, a torpedo from sinking a little speedboat. So at that point, sure. But everybody else, it blows my mind about of I guess of what they think they're gonna accomplish by hiring 37 managers in one season. But it is what it is.
I know it was crazy to think, right? Because there's a lot of quality in the Premier League. There's a lot of opportunity for people to score goals in that fashion, but to think that there's been more coaches fired is pretty crazy. But anyway, let's start off with a more exciting thing. Like I said, for Americans, so I just want to quickly go with congratulations, a huge shout out to Pellegrino Matarazzo with Real Sociedad for winning the first ever American coach to win a European trophy, winning La Copa del Rey. We know that club when he took over was in 16th in La Liga, and he's now gotten them to up to fifth place, where they have a possibility of Champions League, which is amazing. But not only that, guaranteed in the Europa League, which is fantastic. He's he's from New Jersey, so but a lot of the Americans a lot of the American soccer stratosphere fear seems to come from New Jersey, which is crazy. But hats off to him. I think it's a great thing, especially because Americans, Jesse Marsh had a hard time when he was at Leeds, got fired after like 3 games. It felt like, um, and besides
I
him
think
being
Bob Bradley was
Bob Bradley,
overseas for a little
yeah,
bit. A
but
few different,
Chris
but
Armas was a assistant at United, and didn't last very long during the Ralph Ragnick era. But this is a big win for Americans, and we want to hope and think that we're gonna get there someday. And there's a lot more people in the game than people give us credit for that probably have the mind to do something like this. But for someone to actually go and do it, especially with the funny thing that I heard is that when they were going to hire him, they went to ask AI if he would be a good fit, and AI was like, "Fuck no." But they liked his character. They thought that he came in with a lot of research and understanding of how he was going to approach this role, and he's clearly took it and he's ran with it. And congrats, it's kudos, the celebration that I saw on all the socials for that club looked amazing. So your thoughts on the success of an American in Europe?
so does that mean he's the greatest American coach ever?
That's a great question, because if you really think about where he's at, I know we talk a lot about, like, we watch a lot of England, right? And there's a lot of to do with the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup. and how much sometimes people don't put an emphasis on those tournaments. La Liga obviously has Copa del Rey that they go through, and it's one that maybe the bigger teams may decide to not play their best players, or they kind of always do a combination of young talent with some of the players that aren't like the main guys on the team. Suffice to say, you still have to win it, right? You still have to go out and play no matter who you're playing up against. And your tactics got to be on point. You got to get your players motivated. I can't say no. It's a good question because who else has done something like this? We keep having to bring in foreign coaches to try and do something for the US because with the US national team, the furthest we got with Bruce Arena 2002 was a quarterfinal of a World Cup, and that was an anomaly when that happened. Ever since then, not much else. And then I know Berhalter has tried to go to Europe and do his thing. I think the best we've done was probably getting coaches in the Prem, but obviously with not a lot of success. So that's a fair question to ask.
Say he's top three at least. I mean, just with that, yeah.
I know it's kind of silly. It's probably audacious to say, but it's also a good point. It's a good point to bring up. Like
you can't tell me any American coach. Well, they've won 4 MLS titles. Who gives?
And he didn't do it with the best team, the greatest team, the greatest players.
He pulled Ranieri from Leicester.
No, Ranieri, Ranieri with Leicester,
and then he got immediately fired, which blows my mind, but goes back to that. But again, I mean, as funny as that is, and obviously I was being a little sarcastic, but at the end of the day, realistically, he's achieved what the European
no one
trophy
else has.
Exactly, a European trophy, which is more important than any other trophy. And I mean, Europe is obviously by far the best leagues in the world, so therefore it beats out anything in the Americas. It beats out anything in Asia. It beats out anything in Africa. If we have coaches over there, I don't know. We haven't done that research, but I would easily already put him in top 3 because there's not going to be many American coaches to win a trophy over in Europe.
Yeah, trophy-wise, for sure, definitely no one else. I will say there was, I forget his name, but he was coaching in Germany for a bit.
Cherundolo?
No, not Cherundolo. There was another guy. I feel like he coached another squad too. Maybe I'll come to my head later. But there was a guy that was coaching in Germany that was seeing some success, but didn't have this type of success. So still, hats off, kudos. Yeah. I think it's a great win for an American. I'm just happy for him. It's awesome that's how that went down. So, but everyone go like that man's posts and I don't know anything that he has going on. We got to support our Americans when they're abroad and having success. So that was exciting for sure.
Yeah, cool.
You could segue into the next one there.
Yeah, I was just pretty much just kind of looking in. Yeah, that's it's pretty awesome, like you said. But yeah, let's go into more exciting news. Chelsea playing wonderful. Oh, I'm sorry if you're a Chelsea fan. I guess it's not wonderful, but if you're not a Chelsea fan, it's wonderful because they got smacked. First, they got smacked by United, and then Brighton decided to just, whip it out even bigger. So that was 3-0. Yeah,
Pound Town for sure there.
Yeah.
Golazo of Mitoma. Did you see?
Yeah.
That was wild.
I mean, Chelsea are like turning into United in an identity crisis. I don't know, except I guess on paper, well, realistically, their players as a whole they have 3 million players, so they are technically better than United, but United looks like they've actually come together and their players are showing out. I do want to thank them for buying Garnacho at the price that they did. He is showing that obviously he is a head case, and I'm glad that he left United because obviously his ego was much bigger than he thought he was, and look what he's doing now. I don't know what happens to them for the rest of the season.
I mean, to add on to that, obviously, Rossini got fired because of their poor performances, and we saw the stats there.
No way.
6 games without a goal. Kind of wild for a Prem team of that size. The name, the success they've had to be in this position. We all kind of talked about it in the group chat. And I know I mentioned it. Like I don't, no one understands the project. No one understands why you thought buying 800 20-year-olds was going to bring you success. Even if you were thinking long term, not having any real experience because Reece James is on the field 5 minutes every season. And then
I mean,
besides that, Cole Palmer, I guess, is experience for them.
man, he's been terrible a little bit, but does that I kind of bring up the this is what you get for having Americans own the club?
Yeah, a la the Glazers. Yeah, I hear you.
Glazers, Bowley, yeah. Obviously, if you're American, and
I will
at
say
least big name Americans,
The
yeah.
Kroenke group
I
does
was
well
gonna say,
with
I was gonna
Arsenal,
say
but
big name at least as far as like mouthy ones because obviously Bowley's all over the news. The Glazers have been all over the news. Other Americans because obviously West Ham also has American owners, I
I mean
believe.
Bournemouth does too.
Yeah,
It's
so
the Fulham,
but those guys
yeah.
you don't really hear. You don't hear them on TV. You don't see anything happen with them. So I guess these guys that like to run their mouths, um, obviously are terrible for the teams because Chelsea look like they're going into a United crisis, just a lot quicker because they went from being pretty good to and maybe one of the teams to compete for the champion for the Premier League title to let's see if they make any European tournament at the end of the season.
Yeah, no, I think, besides what, Cucurella, who plays decent for them,
Palmer,
Caicedo and Enzo, Enzo's looking to leave already and like trying to
yeah.
charm Real Madrid to give him a call and bring him in. Like it's kind of sad that that's the approach that one of the captains of the team, because I'm pretty sure he's one of the captains of the team, having been on that World Cup roster that won the World Cup in 22. Coming in for that much money, like they paid so much money for so many of these players just to turn into this, like whatever this is. I don't like it's
Well, it
just
just seems like once again it's another Argentinian. Sound looks like with an ego trip because that's a very disrespectful thing to do. That's like, well, let's take it to Argentina. Let's say one of their captains for Boca asks pretty much saying, "Hey, I want to move to River. What do you think happens over there?" Right? So,
they probably
yeah,
never see his family again.
exactly. So,
Yeah, that's
so the
yeah, you're
fact that
right.
now they're in a bigger stage and they're doing this, and again, that's again because we just spoke about Garnacho and now we're talking about Enzo, and it just seems like their egos are bigger than what they think they are because they're solid players, but they're not players. Enzo can he take you to the next level? Possibly, but you got to show it day in and day out, and he doesn't do that. So I
I
don't know
will
what
say
these guys are
Enzo does his
thinking.
best, tries to do his best Frank Lampard impression, coming deep, scoring goals. But
But he's
again,
got Casado to
yeah,
pretty much back
to
him, so
to
therefore,
protect them. Yeah, no, you're right. But anyway,
so
let's move on from that. I mean,
yeah.
the only thing I'll say
Just love bashing Chelsea. It's fun.
put a bow on the Chelsea issue is that they're just digging a bigger holes for themselves. They're now what 10 points behind United, to get or they're 5 points behind Liverpool, who are in fifth, who everyone is chasing at this point. And then you got behind
Brentford are on
them,
their tails, right?
yeah, behind them, you're talking about Brighton just went over Chelsea, and then you have 6 through 12 that are between 48 to 42 points. So you're talking about Newcastle at the bottom of that list, and then on top of that, you have Brentford, Fulham, Sunderland, Bournemouth, and Bournemouth has been on fire. Besides that tie they had, I'm surprised they tied.
Yeah,
But
killed my
Leeds,
parlay.
yeah, but Leeds,
Anyways,
man, Leeds is making a charge to not be in that bottom three, scoring in that 97th minute to tie that game and give themselves more room, away from Tottenham, who's in that last spot because Wolves and what is it, Burnley are basically dead in the water. So a lot going on in all those. I would ask you, does Liverpool stay and keep that, because they're the ones that everyone's really chasing at this point? I think United secured the spot, and then it's just really, can Liverpool hold out, get enough results, or do you see any of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams, like challenging them for that fifth spot?
I think it's going to be a challenge all the way through because I think the Premier League is one of the hardest fought battles. I mean, people love to bash and say, well, Premier League makes fun of everybody and says every other league's a farmers league, and when they lose out in the Champions League. But at the end of the day, I rather watch Bournemouth than Albacete, one of those mid-tier,
Levante,
or France teams, that Toulouse.
Ligue 1,
Yeah,
Ligue 1.
exactly. But I think, I mean, obviously I was wrong about Arsenal. So I don't know. Do I think Liverpool keep that fifth? I think so. If Salah kind of just pretty much kind of gives his final bow in these last few games, I think with him scoring that goal and getting back on the marker, I think they'll hold off. I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, but
But
they just lost Ekatike, and he's been their
yeah,
prolific scorer, or at least the guy who's been the most active in the box for them,
yeah,
creating chances or getting chances on goal. So that's why I ask, like, based on what you're seeing, Mo Salah
that's
obviously needs to. He's been so inconsistent. I can't even count that he's going to be the guy that's going to do things for them. I would say
he's
Gakpo, if
got the
anyone.
experience.
Yeah, but if anyone, Gakpo's the hungriest to prove,
Well,
a point.
they have a not a favorable schedule. They got Palace, United, Chelsea, Villa, and Brentwood. So Brentford. So that's
And
not a favorable.
that last game is against one of these teams that's
Exactly.
vying for
So
those opportunities. So yeah, it's that's what I
it's a
said.
toss up. I mean, for me to be like, no, I think they easily secure it. No. Do I think with the experience and the level of quality that they have, should they hold off? Sure, but anything can happen in these last couple of games. So
A lot of shoulda, coulda, woulda with this
yeah,
team this season. A lot
yeah,
of
exactly.
inconsistency.
So
So yeah,
and
that's gonna be
can
an
we count on
interesting.
them to keep the consistency right these last 5 games? No. So I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
I guess a bonus question to that: does Slot keep his job after the season?
It's tough. I mean, it's not really on him. The players just haven't performed up to the level, except like you said, Ekitike, who now is down. Salah is arguably one of the best right wingers in the Premier League history of all time, and it hurts me to say that because he's a Liverpool player. But you can't. What do you expect him to do? Like he can only do so much. So I don't get rid of him. But the way the Premier League goes, obviously Liverpool are supposed to be a big team that's supposed to fight for the title. So if they got rid of him, it wouldn't surprise me.
Do you think they need a? You think they need a coaching change, or you really think it comes down
I don't think so. I
to
think he.
players?
I think when he was playing and they were shooting all cylinders, they were. He was like, oh, that's a great managerial decision to have this guy. He's gonna push his team forward. So I think what he was doing was okay. I think he was doing all right. I think I would wait till next season because make some movements. Obviously, Salah's going to be gone. You're going to have a couple of players out, switch a couple of guys out, and then see how he does then. And obviously, if he's not doing well, they're going to keep him the whole season. But I would give him one more season at least.
Do you think if they don't make Champions League that he survives? Because
The way things are,
that's a lot
no.
of money
Yeah.
lost. Yeah.
Yeah, the way things are, no. The way things, the Premier League that they want results yesterday, and especially if you're a big team, I don't think so. If he doesn't, if he loses out that fifth spot, I think he's gone. So
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. I mean, that's it's this last 5 games of the Premier League are coming down to one of the most
hmm
exciting endings, and I hate to bring this up, but it's a la United losing the league to City all those years ago.
yeah,
Yeah, and that final goal from Aguero. So
hmm
pains me to say it, but that's what this season like reminded me of, and what that's coming down to, but with like a lot more intensity underneath those top, that fight for Champions League and just European football. Like there's a lot going on. It's not just a
yeah.
title race. It's like a lot going on
That
just
hurt.
for Europe in general. Yeah.
That hurt worse than Pulisic's breakup. Yeah.
Wow. No, too soon, my
Too
man. Too
soon. Oh,
soon, my man.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Captain America, we need you. We need you to wake
Yeah,
yourself up, bro.
yeah. I'm saying.
All right, let's move on to the next topic, and it's a topic I think all of us have been thinking about, talking about. Take it away.
That Arsenal City game was, I think, is a turning point, and I think when we spoke about it, 'cause I barely remember what I ate yesterday, but when we talked about it, I said Arsenal was going to win. I did remember that. I said they were going to win out, but I believe I said also, depending on what happened in the City game, I think they needed a tie. If had they gotten a tie, I think they were able to hold out with City pretty much dominating. I think at this point now it's City's to lose. Obviously, I know they're down on goal differentials, but I think they're gonna just start making it
No,
rain.
it's goal scored, not goal different. They have the same
Well, sorry.
differential.
Oh,
Goal
okay.
scored is where they're
No,
different.
but yeah, but
Which is
if they
shocking.
wait,
Shocking
so
of all the stats. So they got
I thought it was goal differential at
no,
the end of the
it's
season.
goals. Yeah, no, yeah, but they're tied on goal
No,
differential.
I
So next
understand
up is
that, but yeah, but that's not.
goal
But
scored.
as of right now, yes. But if City decide to win 15-0 the next
Oh
five
yeah,
games,
then it's not gonna
Arsenal are
matter.
not gonna. That's what I'm saying. It's gonna go down to goal
Yeah,
differences,
goal differential. Yeah.
which I think City are gonna outscore the rest of the teams versus Arsenal, and I just think people, I guess even Premier League teams don't like Arsenal, so they're gonna give it to them even worse than they do City. So,
Uh,
and I remember when we spoke about, I know what you said as far as City fans just talk too much and can't stand the internet.
no,
First, I was like,
Arsenal
Arsenal
fans.
fans, sorry, not City fans are not real; they don't exist. But anyways, Arsenal fans, yeah. At first, I was like, no, they're okay, and then as I've watched more and more videos, and then Delusion saying Saka,
Better
who
than
did they
Neymar.
compare him to? Yeah, better than Neymar. Um, and I know it's not all Arsenal. Well, I'd like to think it's not all Arsenal fans. Maybe 95% of them believe that's true. And then saying Declan Rice was better than.
Bruno.
No, they compared Declan Rice to. Uh,
But an English midfielder like Lampard, Gerrard.
no, they said that. Good Lord, who was it? It was like. God, Lord, who was it that they compared him to?
We'll come
I
back to
want to
that. Maybe it'll
say,
pop back in your
yeah, I
head.
want to say Roy Keane. But it was one of the greats. Like no, one of the greats of players. Even maybe Patrick Vieira. I want to say.
Oh,
Um,
the Arsenal ones. Yeah,
yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen
The
that
fact that
also.
they think Declan Rice
I mean,
is the second
they've
coming of Jesus.
from what I've
And don't get
said,
me
it's
wrong.
all sorts of things. It's like this
Yeah,
is the best.
delusions. Yeah,
This Arsenal
their
squad is
water.
the
Yeah,
top three squads ever in the
their
history of the
water boy
Premier
is better,
League.
is the best, better than Bobby Boucher. Like, well,
Yeah,
come on, like anything they can say is apparently that this is the greatest. And yeah, when they compared
the
United's,
Saliba
yeah,
and Gabriel are better than Vidic Ferdinand, than
yeah,
Terry and Carvalho and
yeah,
Terry and Silva,
hmm
and
yeah,
geez,
yeah,
man. I'm
yeah.
pretty sure at some point they're gonna say that they're
It's
better than
just,
Maldini and Cannavaro, and
yeah,
it's sad.
Beckenbauer, yeah,
Yeah, it's just sad. Like I don't I don't think I've ever gone into a season prior to this last couple of years, and like I kind of had the stance that you did. Like I don't really care if Arsenal wins or not. They don't. It doesn't matter. They're not a rival to United. This it's just a club that's been struggling for a long time to get those trophies, that success that they want. They did it really. I heard this thing, and I'm curious your take on it. They were talking about how Wenger kind of gave them the illusion that playing pretty football was what that club needed to be successful. And then Arteta comes in and just like goes from pretty football to just like I don't know what the fuck he's doing. Um,
trying to play pep ball.
but it's not even pep ball
I said
because
trying to play pep ball.
I mean I think he started with that, and then it just kind of has evolved into this
Shape his own thing
chaotic,
to
weird ass
Arteta ball.
WWE style football. Remember knocker ball with the big ass
Mm,
plastic balls? Like
mhm.
that's what I feel like they're consistently doing on the field because a
Well,
lot
to maybe take a class or two from Simeone, and
I mean, but just for an example, what was going down between Gabriel and Holland, like I fucking hate City, and I felt bad that dude was just getting bashed left and right, every ball in the air, every time that there was an opportunity for him to, like, it wasn't even defending, it was just straight up like mauling, Like
I say it's a classes.
they were R wording him on the field, like basically,
They were
trying to take his clothes off and
yeah.
have their way with him, basically.
So they went to the school of Gattuso and Simeone. That's if you can't beat them up. So
It
therefore,
was more than that. It was more.
well,
But I will say,
no dinner.
in the end, Holland wound up winning that battle on that second goal, and I think I will say, for the conversation about what you were talking about how what we thought about Arsenal still having the advantage. I'm gonna say that Holland has maybe lifted some of the monkeys off his back because he was having a hard time being a big game scorer. He scores tons of goals against shitty teams, but there was a lot of games, big games, where he'd get subbed off or he could not produce that moment that turned it around for City. And this game might be the game that, like, because I think he went like 10 games without a goal. I think he had goal contributions without a goal. Do you think that goal that he scored is what, like, now motivates, catapults, and that just like sends him into like goal scoring machine mode that he was at the beginning of the season for the last
Sends
5 games?
him to Real Madrid. I mean, if he really wants to get to Real Madrid, he better these next remaining 5 games. He better pretty much show off and show that that's what Real Madrid need. But yeah, he's. I mean, even in even in fantasy, I always bought Holland the first half of the season, and I always sold him for the second half of the season because he was so inconsistent, and he's done it for years. And even this year, he did it again. But this game, a big game, like you said, against a team that they needed to, he showed up. And I don't know if maybe some fire kind of kicked in. He was getting beat up, and obviously he didn't like it. So he's like, all right, cool. Usually other teams, they don't beat him up, and then he's like, whatever. Like, I guess he just doesn't have that fire that kicks in. But I guess that the Viking in him kicked in, and he was like, "Oh, word, all right, you want to beat me up? All right, let's go. And then I think that's what he needed. So he's a big dude, he's a strong dude, and I guess he likes, he wants to get beat up. So he's like, all right, cool, this is what you want to do. Now let me show you what I can do. So, I mean, if other teams keep doing that to him, I think he's going to keep obviously showing them who he is and why he's a machine. But I think if they kind of just respect him too much and don't pressure him the way that Arsenal did, then I think I don't see him going off. So therefore, yeah, it all depends.
How many goals a game do you think he gets the last 5 games?
I think he averages 1 goal a game the last 5 games, but there's going to be maybe 2 games where I think he's going to get a hat trick in at least one of the games.
Here's what I'll say to this game. There was 3 things that I like, and I hate saying this. O'Reilly looked fantastic. Like, that kid is like, he did his thing that game.
Mm-hmm.
Bernardo Silva, his old ass, made
Experience.
a crazy run to I think it was Declan Rice that was on the ball, or I can't remember exactly who, but to defend, it was 1-on-1, and he stopped the attack, but he was all over the field. And then, like, there was just like in Shirky just doing Shirky things. Like, he's really like started to grow into it.
Yeah.
Cement. I will say City did get lucky on a couple of occasions because Havertz did hit the post twice, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or at least once on a header. There was another shot that I remember hit the left post, or the goalie's right post. And Arsenal finally didn't play low block football. They actually came out and took it to City. It was a completely different game plan that I don't know if Pep was prepared for, but there was a lot of mind games previously to the game that I think Pep was playing. I don't know if that kind of played into like Arteta changing it and doing something different. But I mean, how did you see the performances of each one? Because City obviously won, but it was a different game than what we've seen from Arsenal lately.
Yeah, but I think it's understandable because I think he knows that he needed to change up his tactics because he knows that Pep is a smart man. And obviously he learned from him, he studied from him, so he had to say, well, let me change things and do things differently because he kind of knows how my system is and he knows what my thoughts are. So if I go in playing differently, playing a la Simeone, That's not what Pep is used to. That might change things up. So I think it was a bold strategy, and I think it was good. But it changes. That's a big game to do that, and it was either going to pay off or it wasn't, and obviously it didn't. So now they pretty much just have to fight until the end and score as much as they can until and see pretty much who wins out. And obviously, Arsenal can't lose a single game. Okay, they can't even tie a game because I
Neither
think
neither team can.
yes, but I think City wins out. I don't think they have.
Well,
Obviously, they have
let's look at
Burnley.
this the schedule
Yeah,
because that's an important factor here. What are we
Burnley,
talking about?
Southampton for City. Burnley, Southampton, Everton, Brentford, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, and Villa. Obviously, yes, there's a couple of teams that obviously are fighting either to get into Champions League or fighting for some type of spot, something important, or even fighting to kind of hinder City. But at the end of the day, I think the experience that City are going to go in now, they're not nervous. I think it's the difference between Arsenal was comfortable until this point, and now with this loss, Arsenal are nervous, and now every single game is win or die pretty much,
Must win.
and
Yeah.
it's just kind of like now they're nervous as hell. Versus City's like, well, we got what we needed. Now we're comfortable, and let's just go beat everybody else up, and let's can handle what we got to do. We'll be fine. We have the experience, we have the knowledge. We'll do it again, and we've done it before. Because when Arsenal had that lead before, when City fans were claiming the Premier League a couple of years ago, and City did the exact same thing. Again, that's kind of that's how it was. Arsenal went to panic, meltdown, Enron type of breakdown and just you
It's
kind of
just
just
inexperience. I
false
mean, there was a
crashing
lot of inexperience, yeah, and
and
obviously now
now
they should have the experience to
and
maintain
they're
it.
still
And
showing their inexperience because they
yeah,
don't have a Premier League title win, so they don't know what it means to be defending champions. So
and
therefore, with the experience that they have, they still don't have being a champion.
I think what I would say to this squad and how amazing their fans think it is, their captain has disappeared into the eons. Like he is a shadow of what he was at Real, what he was when he came to Arsenal. I don't know if it's injuries or what. Their star boy has been non-existent, injured, not down the line. He's just not been there for them. Martinelli has not played well, even though he was coming on as super sub, scoring goals against teams. And they finally, one thing that I think stands out amongst everything else is that for set pieces, which was their only goal, the only way they could score, that's also gone away. So um, all the things that were in their favor at the start of the season have like eroded, and they're now in this position where they're just, it feels like struggling to just maintain. Like it's not even like what will this do for their game against their games against Atletico Madrid, right? What is this loss to City and then tying in points? Does it play a factor into how those games will go? Because those are two
So
more games to add on to the to five less in the league.
yeah, so April 29th, right? So that's only they play one game on against Newcastle, and then they play Champions League. Now, like I said, obviously that fighting game, they better prepare because that's what Atletico is going to bring on. So therefore, if that they wanted to do it to City, now they're going to get a taste of what it's really like to get hit, and then what's going to happen after that game, because then is there going to be any injuries picked up now, and then they got to take this on
In the short
into
turnaround,
the
yeah.
Premier League, and then they get Fulham, and then they get Champions League again, and then they get West Ham. So therefore, just in that short span right there is going to be tough because those teams that they play against, Fulham is obviously going to try to go. Uh,
So
you know,
here's like the game against Newcastle. Will is Newcastle going to fight for their coach because their coach is also on the verge of
yeah.
potentially getting fired, and they're hunting for Europe. Hopefully,
Hmm.
at least that's what they're trying for. And like you said, then they have to go play Atletico Madrid. They play in Madrid the first one. How what do they prioritize? Because they're at a point now where they have to prioritize one or the other. I don't think that
Well,
they don't have the depth right now to
no.
prioritize both. They have to choose one or the other, and then from there they have to see how much they can handle the rest of the way. Do you think they prioritize the
Yeah.
Premier League or do they prioritize the Champions League?
Well, realistically, the winner between Champions League is the other match, PSG or Bayern. So I think Arsenal shouldn't even be there. They tied against Sporting 0-0. I don't care if you already had the leg up 1-0 against Sporting, and I'm not downplaying Sporting, but obviously they're a much smaller team with a much smaller, just in a much smaller market, and obviously those are the players that in the future are going to go to bigger teams come out of this place. So the fact that you barely squeaked by, you shouldn't be there. So if I'm them, I'm prioritizing, the Premier League because they haven't won it since before Jesus Christ was born. So therefore, it's been a while.
20
You know,
years.
yeah.
20
At
years.
this point, you know how many generations have already been, of, even good Lord, like I said,
I mean, I'm with you. I like
BC,
it's wild because
before Cristiano, BC. Was he there? No, they wasn't
no,
there.
he
So
had
there you
left.
go.
Yeah, he was
Exactly. See?
he was no, he was still there.
Yeah.
It was
No. No.
2003, no, 2008, 9 he left, 2009. Anyway, but yeah, I thought it was an interesting take, right? Because that there's so much that those players are
Yeah.
about to go through in these next 6 weeks, 7 weeks. And then how much in their mind, and the answer to this is probably no, but I wonder how much some of these players that will be getting called up to the national team for the World Cup are also thinking about, fuck, like we have to go hard for these
Well, just look at
games,
Yamal. Look at
and then we have
Yamal
to not
now.
get hurt. But
Yeah.
supposedly he's gonna be fit for the World Cup. I just saw
It
that
did-
earlier today.
I thought
No,
it was okay.
Yeah,
But again, it's
supposedly he's gonna be fit for the
it's guys like
but
him.
like Estevao.
Rafinha keeps getting hurt, so there's
Yeah.
a lot of guys that exactly Estevao.
How much at this point, like those players, there's got to be so much mental struggles that are going on for them, because like you want to play for your country, you want to win for your club, but where the fuck is there's no balance for them anymore. Like,
I mean, to me, at the end of the day, like if you have a choice, they're not going to say it because obviously, the club is what pays
the
them.
bills. Yeah.
But realistically, there's nothing more important than playing for your country in a World Cup, especially if you're one of those big players or one of those big teams that have a chance to win the World Cup,
or they're expected to win the World Cup. Yeah.
If you're one of the teams that is just there to have the World Cup, just to have fun and enjoy it, and you guys are experiencing.
Oh, you mean the
moment,
US? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just to experience it and then crash out. Then yeah, your club is more important. But if you're a team that you have a chance of winning that trophy, that very few players can say they have, a lot of players can say they have Champions League, which is a big tournament, but it doesn't matter. The World Cup is still the World Cup. So yeah, that's going to play a part too. Especially with it's coming home. It's coming home every World Cup, but obviously now you're worried. Now, are you going to be fit enough for it to come home, or are you going to be hurt and maybe miss out on making it? So yeah, that's like you said, that's impossible to. They won't say it, but I think obviously I'd say that's the World Cup. But yeah, Arsenal have obviously the Premier League, which is important because they haven't won it in forever. The Champions League, that would be if they don't win the Premier League, at least they can be like, well, we didn't win the Premier League, but we got a Champions League, and that's obviously huge. And then are we healthy enough to make it to the World Cup and give our country a helping fighting chance? So
it's sad, right? Because that other leg, the PSG Bayern, should be the final, and like this is what we're end up with.
This is a battle of this is pretty much, it's kind of like, all right, SummerSlam, Champions League, because pretty much it's the battle of who's going to get beat up less. And I don't even care to watch the game, but I do because I want to see who RKOs, who Stone Stunners,
the Arsenal.
I want to see.
Yeah, I think that's.
I want to see the beers and then a stunner. So
I
honestly
great. Like the battles that are gonna happen, like between those.
Well, I mean, Gabriel also, from what I keep hearing, Real are interested in him too. So that kind of, that.
Oh, that's a good call out. Are you thinking if they bottle it and they don't make it to the end, they don't win?
I don't think it matters. I mean, if Real Madrid calls,
yeah, that's fair.
So I don't care if they win the league, the Champions League, and he wins the World Cup. Real Madrid calls, I'm pretty sure he's like, cool, I won this all, so therefore they looked at me and now's my chance to be a
Yeah, that's
Galactico.
fair.
Well,
No,
not a
that's fair. Yeah,
Galactico,
yeah,
but
you're
you know.
right. That team comes
So
calling, you
yeah,
move, you go
yeah,
to that club.
that's exactly. So
No, Arsenal can't compare. That's just a whole nother animal. But anyway, so moving on from that disaster, which is it's gonna be a wonderful disaster to watch. um I think in any instance, whoever loses, we're all gonna be happy because we're hate watching at this point, the whole thing. And
yeah.
then in the same token, we're watching Tottenham just sadly fall into the abyss. So it's just it's tough. Yeah. I'll move on to the next thing. I don't know if you got a chance to watch this, but I just want to talk about it because it was the United Legends, the OGFC game. Um,
I
uh,
missed a chance. Yeah, I didn't get
yeah,
to see it. Yeah.
so I didn't watch like the full game. I did watch the extended highlights on YouTube because I saw it come up and I was like, no way. So Van der Sar was in net. The Silva
I did see
twins,
that. Yeah.
Ferdinand, Vidic in the back line, John O'Shea, Gibson,
Jason Park.
Antonio Valencia. But Jason Park made like a 5 minute cameo because
Oh,
apparently his knees are like shot.
makes
I think
sense.
he just recently had surgery. But
Well,
Patrice Evra played.
Berbatov. I saw
Berbatov.
Berbatov. Yeah.
Berbatov was terrible though.
Was he? Hmm.
Yeah, he missed. He couldn't hit a house. Like he
Oh,
could
okay.
literally could like every shot was just everywhere.
Nani.
Um, no,
Vidic.
Nani.
Yeah.
No, Nani didn't play. I didn't see Nani play. Anderson played. Antonio Valencia played. Who else was there? Uh, I
No,
think I'm missing
Silva
somebody,
twins.
but
No.
no, but it was actually a really good watch. Like even just like the extended highlights, it was like shades of all United. Like they gave up a terrible goal. Like Van der Sar he's just too old. Or at least like just there's no reaction time there anymore. You
Yeah,
got hit first post,
exactly.
whatever.
Mm.
But no, dude, that this Fabio was playing striker basically, and
Right.
he had a ton of opportunities and missed all of them. He would either roof it or like he hit the post a couple times. He was going for it though. He was like trying to win the game. It
Old
was
school. I mean, that's what he was.
it just it just Fergie time. The
Yeah.
whole thing I
Reckless.
goes Fergie
Just
time. It
go
was
all
really
out.
great.
Love
It
it.
was nostalgic to watch them all play. Like and I will say like they took it to the other team even. And they're not that much older because some of those guys are like 10 years
Well,
older than I
I
am.
think that the Silva twins are probably the same
Oh,
age as me. So,
yeah, but like Ferdinand and Vidic are I think like 10 years older than I am.
oh yeah, I'm sure.
Gibson, John O'Shea, I think they're a little bit older.
Valencia's
Maybe
probably just
not
a couple years
Gibson.
older.
Yeah, and
In his 40s, I guess.
Berbatov, as far he looks as fit as can be.
Yeah,
Antonio Valencia, bro, he's like my size,
yeah,
and
yeah.
my
So
dude,
it's
he was still running like he ran the Premier League.
oh,
It's fucking wild.
Ryan Giggs is like
Oh,
96 years
Giggs
old.
looks like he's
Yeah,
100. Yeah, he
yeah.
was having a tough one there. But no, yeah, it was a fun watch. Just the highlights that I was able to see. I kind of wish I would have watched the whole thing, but it was interesting. I know we're not going to touch on it much because we're already past the weekend. But that Villa game, where they came back 4-3, the final score, that was intense. Villa
Yeah,
found
that
that
was
motivation to get that win because they again also need to get into these Champions League spots. They're what fourth? They're right above, right after United. So they're continuing their fight to stay in. But yeah, there's a lot going on in the Premier League. A lot of good games to watch. If you guys don't typically watch them, just watch those extended highlights. I mean, we can't all watch all the games all the time. As best we can, we
no.
watch some of them. Even try to fit in some of the La Liga or Serie A where all the Americans are playing. But yeah, no, I just wanted to shout that out because that game, it was all great goals in that game. Fantastic watch, and even the Leicester, not Leicester, that's next.
Yeah,
Leeds Bournemouth had 4 golazos too, so
yeah,
that was also
2-2.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah, or 3, and I think one was an own goal. But yeah, and then we'll move on to just really quickly. Sad, you mentioned it earlier.
yeah.
Ranieri, Leicester, who 10 years ago, well, a little over 10 years ago, won the Premier League. Magic Vardy moments and Mares,
Mhm.
that squad, and they just got relegated from the Championship. Also,
Tragic
it's
loss of
really,
their owner, which they had
yeah,
a
that
lot that
was,
they've been through a lot. So
yeah.
yeah, I feel for them. I definitely I respected Leicester. I loved Leicester because of what they did and what they produced and everything. And it's sad to see that they're out of even the championship. So yeah,
They're
hopefully they can come back and produce some magic in the future. They were exciting to see.
they're kind of pulling a reverse Wrexham, is what I said in the chat
Mhm,
the other day.
yeah,
With Wrexham still almost in that last spot for the playoff to try to make it to the Prem. So shout out to them. Whatever they're doing right, I think Leicester needs to call Deadpool and Rob and just say, "Hey, man, what the fuck are you guys doing that we're not doing? Why can't we figure this out?" Because clearly they found a formula that works, and I, Leicester has a lot of work to do, and hopefully they can make it back up again. But yeah, sad story. But moving from sad to happy, Coventry on the other side of that, up promoted, officially promoted to the Prem for next season. Another American, obviously in the spotlight there. Lampard also turning it around after his terrible stints in the Prem.
maybe they should
Um,
hire him at Chelsea.
yeah, again. Um, but no, Haji Wright and scoring after the game after also, or no, the game that they officially got promoted. I think that's 18 goals on the season, 17 in the league, one in the cups. He kind of had a little bit of a shaky last few games. For some reason, some of the Americans seemed like 2026 was tough for them. Other ones have turned it around. Haji Wright is back in the scoring ways.
I
I
need to
think
get
the
off of
last
Tinder.
2-3 games he's making a name for himself to fight Balogun, who's on a 10 for 10 run in the Ligue 1, a Liga, whatever the fuck you say it.
Hmm.
But no, yeah, shout out to them. Any team that gets promoted into Premier League, you hope for success for them coming into the league next year, because as we see, Burnley struggled bad this season. You almost feel bad for them. Wolves didn't come up, but they keep bouncing back and forth. So it's another team that just can't find consistent success. But yeah, no. Shout outs to Haji for doing his thing. He had the one goal in the last World Cup for the U.S. I think a lot of people don't rate him very well, but I think all three of the guys that we've talked about for the striker role have earned their stripes for this call up for the World
Hmm.
Cup, and you hope he gets that one of those spots, because I
Yeah,
think he
I
deserves
mean
it.
he got again he got he was named team of the season.
Team of the season,
And
yeah.
regardless of it not obviously if it's the second division, but second division in England's no is no I think half of those teams give a battle to the MLS teams, so therefore or beat the MLS teams. Not surprising. So therefore I think he definitely has earned a call up 100%. And obviously Balogun doing it on a top flight team in the top flight league and Champions League. So I think those two for sure. There's like I said, um, yeah, it definitely. I think they both obviously
Yeah, yeah,
deserve to,
and
no
yeah,
question.
and Balogun, like, I think they're competing for the title. They're there. They still have, like, some games left. So
But at the end of the
that's
day, it's,
potentially
yeah.
three U.S. strikers that are on league winning teams, which
Pepe,
is,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's a big shout that people are not talking enough about.
yeah.
I know our for the US, it's that back line that's a fucking disaster that we still can't figure out. And oh
Except
my
for one.
god, if I hear the name Noah Kai Banks on a podcast, I might stop listening to podcasts. And I hate that I'm talking shit about podcasts because we're podcasting. But I don't know if you listen to it, you probably don't, but Call It What You Want with Tony Miola, Jimmy Conrad, and Davies, Charlie Davies.
Hmm.
They can't stop. They can't get that dude's name out of their mouth, man. Like, I don't know why at this point you keep talking about a guy that's basically said, "This is not for me. I'm not into it. At least not for now. I really like.
Yeah, I
Just
mean,
leave it alone."
if
Like,
you're already pressuring the kid, and obviously he's like, you know what, I'd rather just take my chances and maybe never play for Germany, but
yeah.
I don't want to play for you. Yeah, well, whatever. I don't even want to talk about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I segue that because we're obviously moving into the U.S. national team talk and what's
I
going
don't
on
want to
there.
talk too much about that, but
So no, there's not too much, but again, Flo Balogun on a 10-match run, scoring
mhm.
goals for Monaco, which is fantastic. Weston over the weekend also had an assist on a nice cross
I just
for
bought
a
him on my
header.
ultimate team. He has a pretty good card. It was only like 40K because Americans are always cheap, even if they're in the 90s. But
Brendan Aronson had a fantastic assist on a through ball that just was spot on to the striker.
so
Um,
one
and
of the guys that I like, and I hope he
a
gets to
guy
play.
a guy battling for a position in the World
Yeah,
Cup squad.
and
Like you hope a guy that works that hard does get a spot. I kind of
yeah,
always question it because
I
he's a
feel like
hard
he,
worker, but
yeah.
talent is not there. At least with some like with a Diego Luna
Well, I was gonna
or
say,
you know.
I mean, I think he's just as good as I think he's better than Luna. They just play different. Luna's great, but I think obviously Aronson's showing it at the highest level possible. Luna's showing it in the MLS, and don't get me wrong, obviously, um, I have always knocked MLS because I've never found them to be an important league, but I think they've made big strides, and I think he's proof that when he's put on the jersey for the national team, that he's a guy. I love Luna. I think he should definitely be on the national team because he gives that Tevez-esque pitbull instinct to kind of
both
go.
both
Um,
players have that.
Anderson, yeah,
Both players
but
have that.
obviously Luna's more skilled. But I think Aronson has a different skill set that is also important.
He's
And
just a
I think
workhorse. He's
and
a
I think it's
workhorse. Yeah.
and I think I would rather leave Gio Reyna than Aronson because unfortunately, what has Gio been doing? He's freaking James. He's
I,
James.
I
He
think
shows up when the World Cup. He's James. He's Ochoa. They show up for the World Cup and they become the greatest. Not the greatest of all time, but in the sense that they're like, whoa, But then they show up and that's you're rewarding someone that
yeah,
shouldn't
we're
be there.
making exceptions because there's talent
Yeah.
and because they can potentially step up in a big game
Yeah. At the end
instead
of
of
the day, I guess
rewarding
I
the
mean,
guy that's busting his ass in a
yeah.
hard league
But
in a team that's fighting relegation.
But at the end of the day, I mean,
Yeah,
we've always fought to say, hey, let's put on players that maybe aren't recognized enough just because they're not showing off. So it's hard to kind of say leave Gio right now because he, for whatever reason, decides to perform for the U.S. and everywhere else. He doesn't. But I guess if he's performing in camp when they invite him, then I guess we really can't say too much. But, you know,
I mean, there's some wiggle room in the 26 man. I mean, it's 26
still
guys,
a couple of matches left
and
and see, I guess,
and
yeah,
we don't even have like enough defenders, so you probably can bring him in, to be honest. Like you bring a
yeah.
couple of those guys in and just rely on, because you could always drop Weston to play defense on the right, and Tessman apparently can
Hmm.
play center back
Way
a bit, so
on the wing if
and
you really
Weah can
need
play
to.
also. So
Hmm.
I think there's a chance for Pochettino to reward some of these players that deserve from their hard work and actually playing in these leagues, and also think about potentially not bringing in players that haven't played. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a tough one. It's not
I
a
want to bring
job that
up.
it's a job that I would want in this situation because there's no player that deserves it. Maybe Weston, the way he's playing, Ballo, the way he's playing, guaranteed. I could take Pepe too because if you don't start him, he's a great super sub. But yeah, no, I think the rest of the way, I think it's up
And
in the air.
I want to bring this up first so we don't end it on that note because it's a sad
Oh,
note.
yeah.
Jonathan Klinsman. That's that's it sucks to read, to see.
As a
Obviously,
goalkeeper, yeah.
yeah, especially that as a goalkeeper to have any type of, and for those of you that don't know and that watched the podcast, he broke his neck. So that's tough, and he was doing great. Um, and obviously that's just a scary sight, especially at a young age, because that can also hinder you in the future, and you might not be the same anymore. Peter Cech was one of the few that was able to still perform after a cracked, skull. But it's just sad. So yeah, I hope a speedy recovery. I wish him a speedy recovery. Obviously, forget about playing and everything. He was doing what he was doing great.
Making a
And
name for himself in
it's
Serie
sad
B
to
and doing a
see.
great
Yeah,
job. Yeah. So yeah, it
so
is
sad to
sad.
see, and I hope it's
You know,
a recovery, and hopefully it's not. I don't know what the extent of the broken neck is, obviously, so I'll do more research. But wish him a speedy recovery. And
it's a second one now for the U.S. Ajaman obviously also
mhm,
out for the World Cup, and that's
yeah,
someone that I didn't rate at first, but
but he
he
was
started
still,
doing
yeah,
his thing
yeah, he did his thing.
in the
So
championship. He's grown into a player that people see that
yeah,
some of us might not see because not everyone watches the championship, but he's bagging goal or he was bagging
he's
goals.
American, and you still
Yeah,
at least you're happy to see them doing something, and especially again that league is again for teams either that can make it to the Premier League, guys that get pulled out of there, so that make it to bigger teams. So it sucks to see that. And but that, yeah, like I said, bring that up, and at least now we can. I mean, I see on the notes here we talk about Pochettino. We don't need to talk about it. Obviously, he's not staying with the U.S. after the World Cup. I can. He might even go. Well, I don't know. There's a couple teams. I
Put
don't think he's
money
gonna.
on it. He ain't staying. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
see
Oh
it
no.
either.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But
I'll kind of flip it to something that's not sad. So for us as United fans, obviously, with the Chelsea loss, United is basically guaranteed Champions League next year, which is fantastic. There's a lot of work that they have to do. There's a lot of players that need to be sold to get some money to sign players because we need to the like the U.S. backline, the United backline is kind of in shambles a little bit. We're now having
mhm.
to rely on two teenagers to step up, especially with Licha having
Shout out to
gotten
Heaven.
suspended. Yeah, Aiden Heaven stepping up. I mean, we all
Yeah, he's
rate
done it
Heaven.
before.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
think his stats when he has played, he's shown out. He's been great,
Yeah.
solid. Let's go solid, not great. Euro is still finding his way. A lot of mistakes, and
Bambi.
he
Yeah.
yeah, a little too reckless at times. I think he's just trying too hard, and that's fine. I'm okay with that, but you have to rein it in. I would almost like at that point, like Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, you got to talk to him and be like, dude, just relax, play your game. Like there's
Yeah.
not more you have to do. Like and one thing I saw, I think it was in our United chat is, like these two guys have the potential to be the next Saliba Gabriel, like in the modern game. Because you can't compare him to anything else at the moment, because that's the trajectory
No,
that
yeah,
we hope you get to.
they've had solid
Um,
performances. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
obviously as we move into because United, for as exciting as it is to be back in the Champions League for next year, you're not going to be playing on four fronts the same way Arsenal's now struggling with fit form and fitness and players not being there for this last stretch, right? I don't expect United to win the Champions League next year, but you hope that they at least make a deep run. With that deep run, you also hope that they keep pace in the Premier League. I hope that this next season is a good opportunity, and whoever the coach is, them young players, man, bring them through. Play Lacey. Hopefully, JJ Gabriel gets some time, and he doesn't have to play a lot, but just those opportunities to come in as a young kid, and show what you got. Right, see if you can be the next class of '92, because we got a few young players that are coming through. It's not just him. There's some other ones that are in there that are doing well. Maybe Rooney's son Kai comes in and steps up to the plate and shows something, because he seems to have the traits his dad has. Obviously, not you can't compare it to the great Wayne Rooney. But like
right.
there's a lot there, right? Like we need midfielders. Casemiro's leaving. Who do we bring in? Why are we like? I saw Mark Goldbridge
It
from
is
the.
way too early. You are going way too. We got 5 games in the Premier League. You are going. I don't know
Oh,
what
I
you're
know,
ranting
but
on about right now. This is way. You're thinking way too ahead. We got to finish out this season first, and then once we're maybe the last game or two, they got a whole World Cup to go. There might be names that the players come out of nowhere, and then we can look at it. But
yeah, but you got to
this
buy
this is the
them when
last
they.
thing.
You got
Yeah,
to
but you
buy them when
can't.
they're cheap. Make
Yeah, but
agreements
you
now
can't.
before
Yeah, but that's the thing. If you
the
don't
World
know,
Cup.
you don't know who's going to be hot or not in the World Cup, and who's going to step up. So I think you're talking.
But
You're
you can't rely on the World Cup on who you're gonna sign for next season, though. I mean,
Look
you
at how
might.
what James did at the World Cup. Look what they, look where it took
Oh,
him.
I
Like,
know.
players like that. It's
My
gonna
thing
happen.
my thing with that is that that's an opportunity for players to shine and get a
Most
contract.
guys won't want to sign before a World Cup because they can sign for more money if they show out.
It is United, though. I mean, if you're talking about Bournemouth and Tottenham, who's fucking dying, yeah, they're gonna hold off. But
You can get the next McAllister,
I mean, yeah,
right?
yeah, but
So I mean, so
he's also not that great right now.
he's
So
probably on
I
the
don't
way
know.
out. I think he's on the way out at the end of the season. But either ways, again, that's still he showed up back to his small club and won a World Cup. When is Brighton Hove Albion gonna be like, hey, we got a World Cup winner? So
That's fair.
yeah.
That's
But
fair.
that's why I said I think it's way too early. So
Yeah, I know. You have to think about these things, man, and it feels like they're not. Like obviously, we don't have we don't hear about anything that's happening behind closed doors, but at the same
yeah.
time, you hope that this is happening. I've seen Mainu talking to Anderson, and I'm hoping that's a thing. Like, like that's
Yeah,
a
like I
good young
said, this
player.
is
So
speculation, and when it comes to United, we're gonna
maybe we
sign
get
half of
Danny
our
Welbeck to come back after what he did to Garnacho
right.
over the
Yeah,
last game.
yeah.
Woo! They hit the Sui and said, "Boy, you got no respect and no class." And on that
Mm.
note, Thank you guys. If you're listening, if you're gonna
All right,
listen,
guys.
like, subscribe. United in Champions League next year. US is hopefully gonna make a run
Let's just
as
make it
we
out of
move
the group stages.
into the last 50 days before the World Cup. I think 49 at this point. But yeah, I hope we have a good summer. I hope we have a great final stretch of the Premier League. We'll be here to talk about it all. So kudos. Thank you for listening. Have a good
All right,
one,
guys.
everyone.
Have a good
All
one.
right.